Next, we're going to bring in some kind of a new object in here. We're going to create a log so that it's kind of lying down here. So we're going to go game object, 3D object. Let's start with a cylinder. I'm going to bring it out of the ground, and we're going to rotate it around so that it's sitting on its side. So let's see. Let's actually change that rotation here. Put a 90 in there. And let's see where it is. It's kind of floating there. Let's actually make it longer. Not that long. And let's move it down, sort of like this. And then in our assets, make sure you get the login fire assets that I've provided, and you're going to drag the log texture onto it, like so. Now we're going to manipulate it a little bit because it doesn't look that great. So inside materials of that log, we're going to want to change this tiling here. Let's try 0.5, 0.5, and see. Actually, let's leave that at 1 so that it kind of shows. Let's try 0.8. Yeah, just kind of mix it up a little bit. You can change your offset if you need to. All right, so next we're going to write a script so we can pick this log up and put it down. In order to write our first script, what we're going to want to do is we're going to create in the assets folder here. Let's close this stuff up so it's not all crazy looking. And under assets, we're going to go create folder, and we'll call this scripts. You need to make sure that it has a box collider on it, and also that it also has rigid body. So physics, rigid body. So this is so that it can fall down, for example. So yeah, what we're going to need to do is then create a script. Let's right click, create C# script. Let's call it pick up. So I launched my MonoDevelop by accident, and I'm not sure how I did it. I tried to go in and change the settings under Edit Preferences, and I tried to change my script editor, and I couldn't find it. Somehow it's not installed on this machine, so I thought. But then I double-clicked it, and it launched. So good luck trying to get your MonoDevelop up and running. So while looking at our first-person controller and clicking on it, we need to do is create a new empty object, and we need to put it right in front of our first-person controller. And actually, let's put it should have gone here underneath the first-person controller there, so it's all together. We want to put it right in front of our first-person controller. Let's try to see if I can figure that out. Yeah. All right, so the idea is when we pick it up, it's going to be right in front of us, and it's going to be where this empty object is. All right? And let's rename this object. Let's call this destination. All right, to get started with this, we'll go back to our our code, and let's go ahead and delete our void start. We don't need that. And let's get started by typing public, and then transform, and then let's call it the dest, as in short for destination. And let's do on mouse down. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, there's supposed to be no space there. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make it so that when the log is picked up, that it doesn't fall. We got to change that object gravity. So we're going to do that with the rigid body. And to do that, we're going to type get component, and we're going to open up the bracket like this. We're going to go rigid body. We're going to close that up, paren to paren, and dot use gravity equals false, like so. Next we need to do is move that object to our position, or the position of that null game object. So to do that, we're going to go type this, this dot transform dot position equals the dest, meaning the destination, dot position semicolon. And the idea is we're going to move this from one place to the position of the other. Next we need to do is parent the object with the object itself. In other words, keep it so that when you move it, it stays with it. Because right now it just moved it there. Now we need to stick with it. In order to do that, we're going to type this dot transform dot parent, and we're going to say game object dot find, and then we're going to choose the name of the object that we're grabbing. In this case, it's called destination. So we're going to type in quote destination. And then we're going to type dot transform, and that's the end of mouse down. And now we have to do the opposite when it's when the mouse is lifted, right? So we're going to go void on mouse up, okay. So basically what we have to do is make the parent null. In other words, make it go back to its own object, so it's not hung up on the it's not following the parent object. All right, and to do that, we're going to type this dot transform dot parent equals null. And null basically says nothing, right? So it's not parented to anything anymore. And then we need to do is give its gravity back so it falls down to the ground. So basically what you can do is copy the same line up here, and instead of false, you type true. So then file save your script. And what we need to do next is we need to select our object that is going to take. It's going to be able to be picked up. In this case, the cylinder. Actually, let's rename it. Let's call it the log. All right. So we're going to pick up this log, and in order to do that, we need to add a component to that log, and we're going to choose scripts. And we're going to search for our script, which is pickup. I just noticed an error. We can't have our scripts called pickup with a space in between. So we need to make sure that that is not the case. So let's rename this. Let's have it pick up, no space. That's very important. And notice the class actually did update it in the class name here, which if it didn't do that, we'd have to make sure it matched. Now what we need to do is we need to add a script to our log. So what we're going to do is go into, make sure you click on log, add component, and we're going to search for pickup, which I have right here, and then you select it. And so right now it has the pickup script, and the dest is our variable, remember, remember the dest. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to log, go to our script, and we're going to take destination and we're going to drag it down to here. All right, so I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to walk over to this log here. I'm going to try to pick it up. So I walk over to the log and I click on it. Ooh, and it disappeared. Huh. Oh, I think I know where it is. It's behind me. If I let go, there it is. So we're going to have to fix that. And it has to do with the positioning of that null, remember? And my log is running away. So let's fix the positioning of that null. I believe it was on the first person controller. This here dest, right? So we need to move it so that it's a little bit better positioned. It's important to note which direction you are when you start. So when I hit go, I notice I'm looking at the bridge. Okay, so that means that my controller is actually pointed in the blue. I believe it's the blue direction. So let's, yeah. See where the camera's pointed out like that. Okay, so that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to push this in front of like this, and actually I'm going to move it over here. Let me make sure. All right, so when I click on first person controller, I can see ahead of me here, and then my destination should be there. Okay, so now let's see if I can try this again. Go pick up the log. Oh, there it is. It's right in front of me. And pick things up and put things down. So that's pretty much how it's going to work. And I'm going to roll that log, and it's going to keep rolling. Pick it up, drop it, pick it up. Okay, so obviously you can do that to any object you wanted to. Just do the same thing. So now I can pick up multiple logs. Pick this one over, pick this one up, drop it. Pretty cool. So I noticed we're getting pretty crazy. There's a lot of different things going on here. So we got trees. It's getting pretty busy. Why don't we try to organize a little bit and create an empty. Let's call this one trees. And let's try to move all the trees into the trees folder. All right, and for logs, I'm going to go a new one, and I'm going to call this one logs. Actually, you know what? I'll call it pickupables. Pickups. These are all the things that can be picked up. And I'm going to make one buildings. Put my two huts in my buildings. I'll put the bridge in there as well. No, actually, let's call it structures. So I got structures and got my watchtower as well. Got my water. Let's just leave the water alone. Oh, there's a couple of conifers. There. Stay organized. That way it doesn't get too out of hand for you. All right. So far we have some logs to pick up and put down, such as these. Pretty neat. So any objects you want to create and pick up and put down, you're welcome to try that at this point.